All right, so this video is about learning how to do polynomial long division. How exciting. Go ahead and pause the video and try the first two problems on your own, which is just third grade division, long division. I think it's third grade. It might be fourth grade when you learn long division. Pause, try them. All right, you should have gotten 24 and 133. If you forgot how to do long division, go to YouTube and type in long division, and they will show you how to do it. It is quite simple, okay? But you do need to know how to do long division to do polynomial long division, but if you watch a quick video on it, you should be fine. Okay, so let's talk about the division algorithm here. And it says, for any integer p with a divisor d, there exists a unique quotient q and a remainder r, such that p is equal to d times q plus r, where r is less than d. D is said to divide p evenly if and only if r is equal to 0. Now, that probably made little to no sense because there's so many variables involved, and I just literally read it and didn't explain it as I go. But let me give you some examples right here, okay? So we have 72 divided by 8, which we know is 9. Exactly, there's no remainder. The reason why, therefore, I should say we know, is that if you multiply 8 times 9, you don't have to add a remainder. So let me point out there's my little thing. So if you multiply 8 times 9, there is no remainder to get you to 72. So 8's a factor of 72, 9's a factor of 72, and there is no remainder, right? However, if I wanted to do 72 divided by 7, 7 doesn't go into 72. I'm air quoting evenly because that's what we just say, but meaning that it's not a factor. 7's not a factor. You get a remainder, right? So how many times does 7 go into 72? 10 times, and there's a remainder of 2, right? So how we would write that is that it goes in there 10 times, plus we have a remainder of 2/7, so plus 2/7. That's right here, okay? And the reason why that's true, it's because you have to do 10 times 7 to get your 70, but there's still a remainder of 2. Notice this number should always be less than what you're dividing by, okay? Okay, so now we're gonna also do this with polynomials, okay? And I'm going to explain how to do polynomial long division, but I wanna explain how we're gonna write our answers before we even start. So if we were dividing x squared minus 1 by x plus 1, we know how to simplify this already. If you factored it, the x plus 1 over x plus 1 would be canceling, and you'd be left with x minus 1. So what that's telling us that is x plus 1 is a factor of x squared minus 1, and the other factor is x minus 1. So when we divide x squared minus 1 divided by x plus 1, we get x minus 1 with no remainder, and that's because this times this is equal to this with no remainder, okay? Now, however, I should say, if I were to divide x squared minus 1 by x plus 2 is not a factor of x squared minus 1. So when I divide them, I do get a remainder. The remainder is 3. So we would write that as x minus 2 plus the remainder, which is 3, over what we were dividing by, which is x plus 2, okay? And the reason why is because x squared minus 2 is equivalent to x plus 2 times x minus 2, this times this, but there's a remainder of 3, so plus 3, okay? All right, so now we're gonna actually do this. I changed the directions a little of how they looked in the previous years because I felt like the long division was lost in the long division lesson. Like there was too many other things going on. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use polynomial long division to divide these. Okay, it says just divide, but I should have fixed the directions today. Divide using polynomial long division. Box your answer. Highlight the quotient in yellow and the remainder in red. So there used to be a line that said quotient and a line that said remainder, and then you wrote it down. But I don't think that that's necessary. I want you to know which one's which, okay? But I don't need you to write them on separate lines, okay? There is also a section or in a line for also factor it. Well, the only ones that are factorable are the ones that have a remainder of 0. So I also changed the directions to if the remainder is 0, factor that polynomial completely. Okay? So if it's 0, we have to remember, me too, hopefully, fingers crossed, that we have to go back and look at and see, factor completely. Okay, there was a lot of talking because I'm searching through stuff for something that I wanted to write down and say was important, but I can't find it. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into polynomial long division. So it's going to start off, I have to do this divided by this, right? If I was doing 100 divided by 2, I would write it like this. And we're going to do the same thing with this. We're going to take the numerator, which is 6x cubed. Next, I would write my squared unit, so minus 19x squared. Next, I would write my linear unit, so plus 16x. Next, I would write my constant, which is minus 4, divided by. Now, I was saying it like that in a really annoying way, is because just like synthetic division, if it skipped over a term, you'd want to put down a 0, whatever was missing. Let's say x squareds are missing 0x squared as a placeholder. Okay, nothing's missing, so I don't have to worry about that. And then you're dividing by x minus 2, so the x minus 2 goes on the outside. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to take this and divide it by this. So I'm going to write that off to the side, but then I'm going to show you how I do it instead of this way. You're taking 6x cubed and you're dividing it by x. So 6x cubed divided by x, this is x to the first, this x to the first, this goes down, it's 6x squared, okay? So you're going to look at your first two terms, right? I'm going to look at this term and this term, and you're going to divide them, and you get 6x squared. Now you're going to write your 6x squared up here. But where you write it is important for organization purposes. Since it's a 6x squared, you're going to write it above your x squared, okay? Whenever you write something up here, you then have to multiply this entire polynomial by it and write it under here and line it up with the proper term. So I'm going to end up cleaning this up, but basically what you're doing is you're multiplying here and here. 6x squared times x is 6x cubed. 6x squared times negative 2 is negative 12x squared, and that's going to go underneath my x squared item. Okay, I'm going to clean this up, erase all these circles and lines here. Okay. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract this polynomial off of that polynomial, just like you do with regular division, regular long division. Now, since this is subtraction, I personally like to make it addition and distribute the negative. If you're, as long as you're subtracting everything, I don't care how you do it. These should always cancel, otherwise you're doing it wrong. Negative 19x squared and 12x squared is negative 7x squared. And then you're going to bring this term down and bring this term down, okay? All right, so that is plus 16x minus 4. And now what you're going to do is you are going to start over from the beginning, okay? You are going to look at this term, the first term, and the first term, and you're going to divide them. Now, I said I don't really do it that way, so how I question it to myself instead of me saying divide negative 7x squared by x, that's negative 7x, which is true. I ask myself, what do I need to multiply this by to get this? So what do I need to multiply x by to get negative 7x squared? That's negative 7x. That's just the way I think of it. And I write it up here. It just helps. Multiplication's easier for my brain than division. All right, once you write something up here, you have to multiply the entire polynomial over here by that term. So negative 7x times x is negative 7x squared. And I'm going to write that underneath this x squared. Negative 7x times negative 2 is 14x, and I'm going to write that under my x term. Put it in parentheses, subtract it off of that polynomial. I don't like subtraction, so I'm going to change it to addition, and then distribute the negative. All right, these should always cancel, otherwise you're doing it wrong. 16x and negative 14x is 2x, and then once again, you are going to drop that term. So that's a negative 4. And you are going to start over. Okay? You're going to look at the first term and the first term. You're going to ask yourself, what do I multiply my first term by to get my first term? What do I multiply x by to get a 2x? Or what's 2x divided by x? Either way. And you get plus 2. All right, now once I write something up here, I have to multiply this by that term. So 2 times x is 2x. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. put that in parentheses, subtract it off the entire polynomial. I don't like subtraction, so I turn it into addition, and then I distribute my negative. I'm gonna get rid of this highlighter since directions say to do something with yellow highlighter. All right, 2x and negative 2x cancel. Negative 4 and positive 4 cancel 2, and you get 0. So that means that there is no remainder, okay? So now we have some things to do. It says box your answer. So what is this divided by this? It is 6x squared minus 7x plus 2, okay? The directions also say to highlight the quotient in yellow. This is my quotient, okay? And the remainder in red. This is my remainder, okay? Or you could have highlighted in your answer. This is my quotient. There is no remainder, okay? Now these directions also say if the remainder is 0, then completely factor the polynomial. This is just extra practice, technically, okay? So let's factor the polynomial completely. So we started off with 6x cubed minus 19x squared plus 16x minus 4, and we have it factored to 6x squared minus 7x plus 2 times x minus 2, right? This times this is equal to this. We have it factored to so far. Okay, I don't know why it's not letting me point to that. All right, so now this is not completely factored because this might still be factorable. So let's check to see if this is factorable still. So two numbers that multiply to give me 12 and add to give me negative 7 are negative 4 and negative 3. Divide by the lead coefficient of 6. Both of those are simplifiable. This is negative 1 over 2. 2 goes into both of those, negative 2 times 3. So this factors to 3x minus 2 times 2x minus 1 times x minus 2. So let's just put factored form right here. I should have left a line for that, but I didn't. I'm learning. Okay, so there's my factored form that it also asked me for, because it says if the remainder is 0, factor it completely. All right, I'm gonna go through and just erase the 8,000 things that I circled and checkmarked. That was unnecessary. All right, let's go ahead and try another one. Notice there's a Q right there because that's from me forgetting to delete stuff, so don't actually notice that. Who cares? Okay, let's go ahead and divide. All right, first I'm gonna look to see if there's any terms skipped over. I have a fourth, third, second, first power, 0 power. So x to the 0 power, that is. So I don't have any terms skipped, so I'm gonna go ahead and write it out. Yeah, there's plenty of room over here. Okay, I have 2x to the 4th plus 4x cubed minus 5x squared plus 3x minus 2 divided by x squared plus 2x minus 3. All right, so what I suggest as we're doing this here is if you still need help, okay, then, which I think you do, we've only done one, pause the video at each step. Like once you understand a step, pause it and do it yourself and then like play it and make sure you did it right, okay? All right, so I'm asking myself, what do I multiply my first term by to get my first term? So what do I multiply x squared by to get a 2x to the 4th, okay? Or what's 2x to the 4th divided by x squared, okay? So I multiply x squared by 2x squared. So I'm gonna put that above my 5x squared. And now since I put that on top there, I'm gonna multiply everything over here by 2x squared, okay? So I have 2x squared times x squared, which is 2x to the 4th, it better be, okay? 2x squared times 2x is 4x cubed. I'm gonna write that underneath my x cubed. Then I have 2x squared times negative 3, which is negative 6x squared. I don't know why I'm talking like that, but whatever. All right, I'm gonna subtract this polynomial off of that polynomial. And once again, remember, I don't like subtraction. So I'm gonna change it to addition. And then I'm gonna distribute the negatives. This becomes a minus, this becomes a minus, and this becomes a plus. And now I can just add instead. These cancel. Ooh, these cancel too, which didn't have to happen, okay, but it did. And then I'm going to add these two, which is 1x squared, or just x squared, and then drop this, so that's plus 3x minus 2. And now I'm going to start over, okay? So please realize, since this also canceled, you're not going to have any x's, okay? It's just, you're going to end up skipping over that spot. Unless you put plus 0x cubed, and then you would say plus 0x, which no one should be doing that. Okay, so now, once again, I'm going to look at the first term and the first term, this term and this term. And I'm asking myself, what do I multiply an x squared by to get an x squared? And the answer to that is 1. I'm writing the 1 right here because it's a constant, so I'm writing it over my negative 2. Multiply everything here by 1. I get x squared plus 2x minus 3. Put that in parentheses and subtract it. I don't like subtraction, so I'm going to change it to add the opposite. And now I'm going to add. These cancel. 3x and negative 2x is x. Negative 2 and positive 3 is 1. Now, I would start over and look at the first term and the first term and ask myself, what do I multiply x squared by to get an x? But I know that this is my remainder because I was already at my linear term. All I have left is a possible remainder, okay? But also, there's nothing I can multiply this by to get this other than a negative exponent. Okay, so I'm going to write my remainder. I'm always going to write a plus sign. Then I'm going to make a fraction. In my numerator goes my remainder. Okay, in my numerator goes my remainder, x plus 1. In my denominator goes the divisor, or what I divided by, x squared plus 2x minus 3. So we have a final answer of 2x squared plus 1 plus x plus 1 over x squared plus 2x minus 3. Okay. All right, so let's highlight in yellow our quotient. So our quotient is this, okay, or this. And then our remainder in red is x plus 1, right? So that's our remainder, okay? But if you highlighted the whole thing and said x plus 1 over x squared plus 2x minus 3 is your remainder, like, I'm not mad at it, but really the x plus 1 is your remainder, okay? And it said if it has a remainder of 0 factor, guess what? It doesn't have a remainder of 0, so let's move on to the next one. All right, let's try one more together, and then I am going to not pause the video and show you the answer to the last 3 because I didn't do the last 3 yet. I will do them. But what I'll do is I will stop the video, and then you can try the last 3 on your own and compare it with the answer key that I will post in Schoology. Sound good? Okay. So one more together. Do I want to do the next one together? Do I? I feel like you can try the rest of them on your own. Let's do one more together for fun, okay? All right, let's go ahead. Let's do 2 more together, and then you can do the last 2 on your own because the fourth one tends to trick people up. Okay, talking to myself too much in the video. All right, so x cubed, x squared, x, no x's, nothing skipped over. 2x cubed minus 5x squared minus 3x plus 6 divided by x minus 2. All right, what do I multiply an x by to get a 2x cubed? That's 2x squared, and I'm going to write it above my negative 5x squared. Okay, next, distribute the 2x squared to your divisor. All right, so 2x squared times x is 2x cubed. 2x squared times negative 2 is negative 4x squared. Put it in parentheses, subtract it off. I don't like subtraction, so I'm going to change it to add the opposite. These cancel because they always will. Negative 5x squared and 4x squared is negative x squared. Drop your negative 3x, drop your positive 6, start from the beginning. What do you multiply an x by to get a negative x squared? And that is negative x. So I'm going to put a negative x up here. Multiply the divisor by negative x. Negative x times x is negative x squared. Negative x times negative 2 is positive 2x. Put it in parentheses, subtract it off. I don't like subtraction, change it to add the opposite. These cancel because they always will. Negative 3x and negative 2x is negative 5x. Drop that 6, start over from the beginning. What do you multiply an x by to get a negative 5x? That's negative 5. Multiply -5 times your divisor. -5 times x is -5x. -5 times -2 is +10. Put it in parentheses, subtract it off. I don't like subtraction, change it, add to the opposite. And we get, these cancel. 6 and -10 is -4. This is my remainder. I know because all that I have left is remainder. And also I can't multiply x by anything to get a -4. So I am going to write plus, make a fraction. My remainder goes in the numerator, -4. My denominator is my divisor, x minus 2. So my answer is 2x squared minus x minus 5 plus -4 over x minus 2. Box that, because it says to box your answer. You could have just boxed it over here, okay? Highlight your quotient in yellow. That's this, that's this. And then your remainder in red. -4, -4, okay? So also people would ask me, can we just put a minus sign instead of plus? But 4 is not your remainder, so you would still have to highlight the -4. Also, if it was something like this, and it was minus x plus 1, no, you couldn't just put a minus here because then it would subtract both terms in the numerator, so I would just do it the way I did it. It's beautiful, okay? Just write your answer like mine. It's gorgeous. Okay, moving on to the next one. I did say I would do this one, but this is the last one I'm gonna do. Notice I've picked up the speed quite a bit, okay? All right, so if you look at what you're dividing, which is called the dividend, it is x to the 4th, x cubed. There is no x squared, so we are going to have to squeeze in a 0x squared there. X to the 1st, constant. Okay, watch out for the missing x squared. Wow, okay. All right, so we have 3x to the 4th plus 10x cubed plus 0x squared. So we want that space holder. Plus 30x minus 8 divided by x plus 4. All right, what do we multiply x by to get a 3x to the 4th? That's 3x cubed. I'm gonna write that above my cube. Multiply the 3x cubed by your divisor. So 3x cubed times x is 3x to the 4th. 3x cubed times 4 is 12x cubed, positive 12x cubed. Put that in parentheses, subtract it off the polynomial. Add the opposite, plus, minus, minus, cancel. 10x cubed and -12x cubed is -2x cubed. Drop your 0x squared, drop your 30x, drop your -8. Start over from the beginning. What do I multiply x by to get a -2x cubed? That's -2x squared. So I'm going to write -2x squared here. So that's why it's important to put that plus that 0x there. It's that placeholder spot. Okay? -2x squared times x is -2x cubed. -2x squared times 4 is -8x squared. So I want to write that underneath my x squared. If this wasn't here, I wouldn't have anything to write it underneath. See where we're going here? Put it in parentheses, subtract, distribute your negative, or add the opposite. Cancels. 0x squared and 8x squared is 8x squared. Drop your 30x, drop your -8, start over. What do I multiply x by to get 8x squared? That's 8x. Multiply 8x by your divisor. 8x times x is 8x squared. 8x times 4 is 32x. Put it in parentheses, subtract. Distribute your negative, plus, minus, minus. Cancel. -2x minus 8. Start over. What do you multiply an x by to get a -2x? That's -2. Multiply -2 times your divisor. That's -2x minus 8. If you look, those match, so I'm going to get a remainder of 0 here. Distribute. Gone, gone. Remainder is 0. Box your answer, which I'm just going to go ahead and box this instead of writing it again. Highlight your quotient in yellow. Highlight your remainder in red. Good? Okay, so you can go ahead and move on to the problems on your own. and try 5 and 6, and then you can check it with the answer key that's in Schoology. I'll have my work there too, so you can find any mistakes that you made.